Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. Today I am here to cover Marco Palestra to Chelsea for €55 million in a deal that come out of nowhere really over the last 24 hours, just before England kicked off actually yesterday against Ghana. Palestra actually, it was looking like he was going to go to Inter Milan, but now it looks like obviously Chelsea have stepped in, bidded more, and he is on his way to Stamford Bridge, and he becomes the first signing of the Xabi Alonso reign. And for everyone who's tuning into this video, if you do enjoy the pieces, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much in the long run. And I think I counted it was 73% of the people who watch the videos aren't subscribed. So if you do enjoy the pieces, think about subscribing. Yeah, time to give my opinion on this player, what I think he's good at, why I actually think this is a pretty unique signing, one that's obviously got a lot of different things attached to it. So just going to quickly start off by saying this is a 21-year-old right wing back who is pretty two-footed. I'm going to go later on into speaking about where his, two-footedness works, where it doesn't work, things when you can tell he's a bit more awkward in situations. And honestly, I've been pretty impressed about this lad. He's extremely fast. He's a bit of a pain in the backside for defensively. I actually put his hands on with his defending, and I meant that in a literal sense, where he's constantly shoving, he's constantly getting his shoulder in, getting his elbows in, knocking him off balance. Even when he goes and jumps into the high pressure, which I'll talk to you about later, there's a lot of manoeuvres with his arms, shoves, little dirty work, and he's a very, very interesting player and not one who is that technical mould. He's 6'1", 6'2". Y-Scout says he's 6'1", but when I was watching him, I was seeing a lot more of a 6'2", 6'3", tall, lean, very, very powerful runner, almost like a gazelle, like a horse. He's got ridiculously long legs, very similar to Ricardo Calafiore, but in my opinion, he's actually faster off the mark, whilst he's a lot leaner than Calafiore. So, yeah. This is a player who I've been really interested in, and I think it leans more towards Xabi Alonso playing straight away a 3-4-3 at Chelsea. He's played right wing back for the most of this season. He has played left wing back, and he has also been played one and then swapped over to the other mid-game for different dynamics. So a lot of the times when he's receiving these back-to-goal passes, he's actually looking to combine inside infield like that. What he likes to do a lot is when he's got a lot of back pressure, he likes to win a lot of fouls throughout games. He's one of the most foul magnets I've ever seen in the Serie A. I actually think I have a stat on your screen right now. Yeah, I do. Which is he's won the most fouls in the Serie A with 108, and the second highest is 82, showing just how well he can manipulate the ball, how hard it is to get the ball off him. And when they do get the ball off him, or look like they're going to get the ball off him, he can win fouls. He takes a lot of back-to-goal moments like this. He usually looks to tap the ball inside of his left foot like that and attracts that pressure. And he often forces his leg to get tangled with the opposition defender's legs as they try and be a bit more physical with him. But straight away, he's a player, in my opinion. I was trying to gauge before whether or not he was extremely technical or a little bit more raw around the edges, rough around the edges. I want to say he's a little bit in between. Some of the stuff looks pretty rusty, a bit raw in terms of his ball manipulation. He's obviously a very, very tall player, so naturally he's not going to have the coordination of someone with a low centre of gravity. But he doesn't really tend to lose the ball that much. Like when I was watching him, especially on the line, and this is a really, really hard place to keep the ball, because especially if you're being pressed inside like so, and you've got pressure on your back in these areas, it's very easy to lose the ball if the press is worked right and you've got really no exit areas, access points into the centre of the pitch, back to your centre halves. But he doesn't really lose the ball that much. And to be honest, when I was watching him, I thought he was a little bit more, when I initially watched him a few months back, I thought he was more of a technician, a bit more of a fluid player, someone who was that bit of Gavadio mould, who were mastery of the ball and the way you can pass through the lines. His effectiveness on the ball is pretty good. I will go on to speak up in a little bit about sort of what he does on the ball that makes him so special in terms of why Chelsea are looking at him, because this new generation of fullbacks now are all road runners, they're all gazelles, they're all players who attack unique spaces, they overlap the wingers, they go on, journeys of their own through the pitch. So just before I get into that, 10 plus metre progressive carries in the Serie A the season just gone. We can see that he has 152, which is the fifth most of any single player in the league. And if I show you this stat on your screen right now, which is looking at shot ending carries, goal ending carries, chance create ending carries, assist-ending carries. We can see that in total he has 34, which is up there with some of the better wingers, chance creators in the league. You can see Yildiz, Conceição, Jesus Rodriguez, Armand Loriente, Nicolo Zaniolo, Nico Pass, players like that. So he's very much in the realms of a winger when it comes to carrying the ball, when it comes to running with the ball, but also when it comes to running off the ball. We can see in this example here, we've got take-ons with shot plus take-ons with chance created. Again, look at the players he's around, like Charles de Catalara right there. Another stat on your screen right now, which is multi-take-ons. So now this is looking at multi-take-ons is basically a take-on that passes more than one player. And it sounds very stupid that I'm having to explain that, but he has the most of them in the Serie A in the season just gone. That is pretty impressive for a right wing back who's 6'2", who you may think's quite stiff, who you may think's not really got much mastery of the ball. But he's got 17 take-ons this season that include more than one take-on in that dribble, which is pretty incredible. And his successful take-ons overall in the Serie A are second behind Kenan Yildiz. So this is a very, very interesting player and one who's a little bit more brute force of a player. I'm going to show you an example on your screen right now just to talk through some of the stuff that I believe he has on the dribble. So I want to talk to you initially about what I mentioned before, which is the left-footed nature of him playing on the right-hand side, the way he looks to combine inside, the way he looks to use his long legs, his power on the inside, the way he can breeze past players. And then we'll go on into talking about what that means in the Serie A, the tax, the pace of the league, can it stack up well to the Premier League? So against Parma here, I was looking for more ball-dominant games. This is games we're going to be looking to see a lot of Xabi Alonso's Chelsea in. We can see that exact pattern here where he's got the ball, he's receiving the ball, and he's got direct pressure on his back. So same as we were saying before, angles are pretty tight off. He's a little bit more in this position. And we can see that when he comes in field, he looks to do this all in one motion. He looks to arrive at the ball, curve his body, and then play it inside with his left foot. But he doesn't just play it inside and then stick to his position. He goes on an adventure, as we were saying before. We can see here he gets a 1-2 off the interior, and he breezes past this Parma midfielder. He takes the long way round and completely runs on the other side of him, using that pace and power to get in front of his man. And then he crashes between that area of the centre-back and the full-back that has now opened up from him dropping deep and then coming, getting it, and then attacking depth. He gets all the way into the penalty area, and this is a really good opportunity for a cutback on his right foot, which he doesn't pull off. But this give and go nature of Palestra's game is where I think Chelsea have looked at this and gone, we need that. I think Chelsea lack pace, power, height in their team, and I think Xabi Alonso's looking at that and going, what do we need in the Premier League? And this feels like one area they have improved on, which is a lot of depth and a lot of sturdiness down the wide areas. So I've got another example. This one becomes a little bit deeper. This is more where I would say you would see Xabi Alonso use a back three or a 3-4-3, because as we mentioned in our piece talking about him, it doesn't stay in this shape. There's often one side of bias. So if it's left back, so say they're dropping the left back in, then the centre half shuffle along, the right centre back will push over here, and they will get someone pushed on down the outside like this. This was Frimpong's role under Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen. It was also Alejandro Grimaldo's role if it happened on the other side like this and he comes down. Now, if that happens and he receives the ball in these areas, which are a little bit more deeper, I've got this example against Sassuolo. So now we can see he's a lot deeper. He's received it on his left foot, looks to play the ball between two attackers, and then the run he makes off the shoulder here of Armand Loriente is really, really good. He must drag about clear about four players with this run, gets it and receives it in the final third, and then he can play it to that overlapper down the right-hand side of him. He shifts it down the side, and it's a really good opportunity for himself to crash the box and for Cagliari to actually work a chance. So for me, these are the areas where I look at him and I go, this is really good. This is what the Premier League is all about now. We're looking at the modern day fullback. We're looking at the PSG model with Nuno Mendes. We're looking at the Arsenal model with Hincapié, with Calafiori, with Ben White, Timber, players like that. City have even done it with obviously Gavardio playing there, Nico O'Reilly playing there. And that is for your fullbacks to be almost your ghosts into the penalty area, almost these players who can arrive there unmarked. He can lose markers better than most players I've seen play at fullback. He's really sharp off the mark, and I think he's really durable. He can handle contact, he can get roughed up, he wins a lot of fouls, as we were saying before. His drives with and without the ball, as I've shown you in the screenshots and the data, are really, really promising. And this is a player that I think is one that's more suited to more physical football. I will go on into in a little bit to speak about his dribbling package and what that looks like. And, sometimes, I will say this about Palestra just before I move on, I was saying before, is he right or left-footed? When he's playing these back-to-goal passes like this, in the two examples I've just shown you, like this, these are more left-footed favoured passes. And his left-footed passes from this angle are really nice. He can access the middle of the pitch pretty easily. He can usually oftentimes just go back to the right centre-half, which is what you see him do when he's got pressure on his back. But he can turn players like that, and he can bounce off players. He can get his first yard across, and then he can find the players inside and make late darts into the box like that. That is what he wants to do. However, in the final third, which I'll just push him on like this, and you can imagine if this is outside the block, what he likes to do a lot is a lot of chops and a lot of trickery, a lot of 180 turns, a lot of like feints. So what I'm talking about is if he's on his left foot like that, and the defender's obviously shielding him outside, I would say his left-footed in-swinger from outside the box from these locations are a lot stronger than his right-footed in-swinger. I was seeing a lot more favourable whip on the ball. It looked more natural to him. He gets too much toe on the ball when it's on his right foot, the crosses. So on this side, on his left-hand side, he can use that same angle we use down here, up there. Now, the other thing I actually noticed was he does actually tend to hit the line a lot. And I mean a lot. I can show you this graphic I've got right here. So on your screen right now, I've got Palestra's long progressive carries from Cagliari in the season just gone. Look at the cluster of long progressive carries that are going all the way to the last line. This, usually on a map like this, you would see that line curving like that. So it would go like this, and then it would curve nearer to the penalty area. Palestra's not that player. Palestra's not really going to take a fullback on 1v1, especially if he's running straight, and then come inside and try and finish with his left foot or something. He's more of a straight arrow player, using that pace and power. And the main thing about me, and the concern or not the concern with this, will be, can he kick and run down the width like that against Premier League opposition fullbacks? God knows. In this next graphic I want to show you, it gives you the same idea. Marco Palestra's chance creating carries map. We can see when we were mentioning before about his dribbles, his take-ons, everything like that. Look at the end of the line, so where the dot is on this line from Opta. We can see that these are all of his chance created zones. Look at how long and straight some of these lines are. The length of the carry, the stride is so large. I mean, you can see on the left-hand side, the line is very short, meaning that he's not carrying the ball that far. But on that right-hand side, when he works it onto his right foot and can go down the line, you can see just how well he can attack the depth here. And in his open play touch map, which I'll also throw up here on the screen, he's got 8% of his overall touches in that far right box in the opposition's half here, in that quadrant. That is an obscene amount of touches, even for a right winger. Oftentimes, you would see a lot of touches in these spaces. He is a depth attacker. He is a straight-lined attacker. Sometimes to his detriment. Sometimes it can be too much straight-lined. But I've got an example on your screen to show you what he can do 1v1. And this is against AC Milan away. So Cagliari are 2-1 up. We can see that he's attacking back four of AC Milan here. He's past Rafael Leao with the ball. And now he squares up his fullback. And automatically, right now, you can see that he's shifted it straight away on his left foot, which is where I think he's more favourable. But what he has on that right-hand side is that same ability, if you watch the Andy Amande piece, same ability as him, to work the ball for a smash across the edge of, across the face of the box. So when he cuts onto his left foot, straight away you're concerned because you're thinking he could dink this to the back post, he could loft it to the back post, he could go for goal himself. But then he chops all the way back onto his right foot, gets half a yard in front, and he ends up working this ball really nicely on the cutback. And from this position right here, this 1v1 on the right wing, Cagliari should score from this. They should score from this. And that's just talking about what he can do on the dribble 1v1. I think he's really good. I think mostly in the final third, my concerns come down to how will this match up against Premier League opposition. I want to talk about his defensive 1v1s and why I don't think this is an area where he absolutely excels. So when I was watching him against, I think it was actually Lazio, he was up against Lazare, and he was actually playing left-hand side. Now, oftentimes, he plays really well against sort of them kick and run defenders, kick and run attackers. If you think about like a Rafael Leao, sometimes his aggression matches up really well. When I was watching him against Conte, Sam and Lazari, who are a little bit more ball to feet players who can keep the ball within, only a couple centimetres away from the body and can control the ball in really close areas to shift it very quickly, he is such an aggressive defender. Especially in the duels 1v1. There's a lot of toes, there's a lot of long legs, there's a lot of stabs, there's a lot of attempts to, use his stride to get in front and to split the ball from the man. A lot of them. What that means is that is a bite. That is technically what's called a bite. So he does have a good starting position. He's got a side-on starting position, as we mentioned before. His initial little first step is very, very good. It's very strong. But I would say against them shiftier attackers who can move the ball really fast in small areas, I'm talking like ridiculous ball mastery. Like I'm thinking, initially when it comes to my mind, I'm thinking of someone like a Rio Engamoa who's a little bit more, keeps the ball within a really small space in the feet and then can explode into a one quick action. So that is where I don't really think he's absolutely, brilliant. But one thing I will say is against the wingers who run and against the wingers who go up against him with contact, he handles the contact really well from what I've seen in the Serie A games. He bounces off players, he can bounce players off him. I actually had a few quotes and I've not put them on the tablet. I had a few quotes from Palestra talking literally just about his development in his game. He was mentioning that he's gone through such a sharp growth spurt at a very young age. When he went to the under-17s European Championships, he had a huge growth spurt and he's now still getting used to his body. So I think this new idea of his pace and his power is still relatively fresh to him. I watched some of the Atalanta under-23 games and he stands out like a sore thumb physically in them games. He's breezing past oppositions. And for me, mostly, I do think this is a really decent signing. I do think this is one that Xabi Alonso's obviously had a green tick put next to. I think he's looking for depth. I think he's looking for long legs. I think he's looking for duels, aggression out of possession. And Palestra has all of that. Gasperini touted him at a very young age already. He's had so many good remarks off the likes of Luciano Spalletti. I've obviously mentioned him. He's already been capped for Italy. And even in the Bosnia game, when Italy were down to 10 men and they actually went out to Bosnia, obviously to get the World Cup qualification, he played brilliantly in that game. When he was defending his man, he was up against Karim Agliabegovic, who obviously we've mentioned on the channel for the World Cup, handled him really well, and that's more of a small space, nippy player who can keep the ball at his feet. So many 1v1s defensively there that he won, and he was still the freshest player in the game when it went to the 105th minute, 110th minute. So I think it's a really decent signing. It's a player that I'm quite impressed with in terms of the style, in terms of the modern game, in terms of what Chelsea need. I do think overall this does cater more to a 3-4-3. I do think he could play right back, but I'm just not sure how exposed he would get in a back four. I think it does tailor itself more. I mean, all the things we've said he can do are these long stretching, long bursting runs down the side. Maybe if that's paired with a winger who likes to come inside like Palmer, he could do that from right back, yes. But I think them longer strides into the penalty area, in them transitions especially, are really good. I think I wouldn't have him standing up here in settled play. So maybe right back in a back four could work. Maybe start him a little bit deeper and let him crash into space late. I think that could work. But yeah, it's a really interesting signing, not one I really seen coming. And Chelsea are clearly giving Xabi Alonso quite a lot of power in the market. There's already been a lot of rumours. Cucurella's gone, obviously. So yeah, really interesting. Bright young player, don't get me wrong, 21 years old. And don't get me wrong, the Serie A tax will always come into it. People really don't respect that league's tempo and pace of play. But he is a bit of a leaner Calafiore. He's got a bit of Denzel Dumfries to him in terms of arriving in the box late from a right wing back starting position, from a right back starting position. He's got really good physicality. And I think his speed is very good. I think his speed is really good. He's not one where we were mentioning other players. He's not one where, like Ederson, I don't think that player would translate across to the Premier League that well. It's not one of them. The same with him. I think it can be the same with this one. So yeah, decent player, a very good young player. It's going to be a big season for Chelsea. They will need rotation always, and I think he will really help them balance the minutes between him and Reece James. Someone who's very fresh, very sharp, off the mark, agile. Really exciting player. So If you did like this episode of the Overlap Breakdown, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back next week with more analysis. Thank you.
This has been a Global and the Overlap production.